Haywood Highsmith, huh?
Found something.
Yep.
Should start?
Maybe.
Should start.
Maybe?
Has to start.
Whoa. We are in the found something portion of the proceedings. The fear is here. I love fear.
I
have no fear.
Fear's not here, man.
Okay, for you, perhaps not.
But you just said declaratively, fear is here. Fear's not here.
Well, I'm saying it.
Just saying
because
we have to start Haywood Highsmith is not an acknowledgement of fear.
I would say, yes, I would say that already tinkering with the starters for Spo is something that, if not fear and panic, it is interesting. And one of the things that I wish to discuss today, because Richard Jefferson is saying the Celtics are going to win the series, there seems to be a lot of money and expectation from many people that if 3-0 is going to get coughed up, this is exactly the team that is going to do it. The Celtics team of the last 5 quarters is the one I have feared for 2 years. I'm talking about regular season basketball. I'm talking about them feeling better than Golden State during the regular season when they start moving the ball. And in last night's game, what you get is the combination of this. When it's being decided, Celtics have twice as many threes, twice as many steals, half as many turnovers, and also Jimmy Butler. That's not going to work.
Yeah,
Bam
don't.
and Kyrie, awful and incompetent. With that Jimmy Butler, no, you're going to go ahead and do that equation and start whoever you want and watch yourself continue to lose if that's what you're going to put together. Bam, terrible. Kyrie, worse.
Kyle,
excuse me. I'm sorry.
Although generally I agree with the sentiment. Also, you forgot to include second chance points. Boston, scary thing for Miami is Miami actually shot really well in that game, and they shouldn't have been blown out the way that they did. It should also be noted Miami's missing 2 starters and was delayed on a flight for 3 hours before it got up in the air. Nobody had legs. Jimmy Butler's shot looked flat from the very start of that game, but I don't think panic is here quite yet. Panic will be here if they lose Game 6. But even entering Game 7, just treetop view on everything, it's still, is Jimmy Butler going to lose 4 consecutive times? Is Joe Mazzulla going to be the coach that overcomes a 3-0 deficit to Eric Spoelstra? I just don't see all those things happening.
The airplane thing kind of feels like it's hot outside, so the Knicks couldn't play that well. That to me is like everybody's on an airplane. These guys are on an airplane 95 times a year. Like, they'll be okay. There's been delays before.
It's so bad. It is so loser's lament to say, well, the flights are hard. And yes, injuries the last 3 or 4 years of Heat basketball have been a thing. They've lost players as important or more important for finals games against the Lakers. But Kyle Lowry, the last 4 games, is the Kyle Lowry that everyone in South Florida finds the most frustrating Heat basketball player ever. What he did yesterday, the things that he was doing were so sloppy that you could feel all of South Florida yelling at its television, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, this has been obviously like a season-long struggle with Kyle Lowry from that standpoint, but it does have a lot to do with his health. He was out for the majority of the season, it felt like, in and out of the lineup, dealing with the knee. And he's a guy right now that physically can only give you his top-level performance every once in a while. I can imagine maybe we'll see some of that from him in Game 6. But really what the issue is that he was overexposed in this game. He's been coming off the bench for a reason, playing in limited minutes. Without Gabe Vincent, it matters. And I know nationally saying like, oh, Gabe Vincent matters that much.
Sentence.
But it's your starting point guard. You're already without your starting shooting guard, a shot creator. You're already without your backup shooting guard, a shot creator. Gabe was their only guy all postseason who's been able to get his own shot outside of Jimmy Butler, and he's one of their best three-point shooters. That combination, and including not being able to run a half-court offense without your point guard, really hurt this team. They turned the ball over, and they had no shot.
And to the defensive side of the ball, Spoelstra continued doubling Jason Tatum, and that left Kyle Lowry susceptible to having to make up a lot of ground, and he was constantly late on all the switches, which is why we bring up Haywood Highsmith, because Haywood Highsmith, if you look at the stats, has given Jason Tatum some trouble one-on-one. So if you don't have Gabe Vincent and you don't want to put Kyle Lowry in those situations where he's late chasing because Jason Tatum's picking the double apart, then you got to put Highsmith on him so you can go 1v1 and protect Kyle Lowry from himself.
Not only with Kyle Lowry on the floor, but also Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry on the floor is terrible. You're playing 3-on-5 on defense.
Yeah, but Love serves a purpose, especially if you're playing zone.
Yeah, but they needed to get him out ASAP. Like,
Yeah, well,
he
they
was just
did
not
because
playing well
they also
defensively.
didn't start with zone. They started doubling man on man, and they had guys like Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry out there that at this stage in their career are just incapable of covering that ground.
You'll just see limited minutes from Kevin Love and maybe less of the Zeller minutes that we've grown accustomed to seeing.
Why
You might
does
see
he
Haywood
put the
Highsmith
ball
there.
on the floor?
Well, you
I
might see
want-
Haywood
I want
Highsmith
more,
in that
more
position.
Zeller, not
Come on,
less.
Dan, what are
Why
you
does
doing?
Cody Zeller put
Dan-
the ball
Dan's
on the
right.
floor?
Don't
He had a play where he got a rebound and he was wide open.
Put
All
it
he
on
had
the
to do was
floor.
go up and put a layup up.
Do not.
That's all he had to do.
Do not take the Zeller minutes away
And
from
he
me.
turned away
because
this
all
way.
of you are terrified and pooping yourself, telling me you're not terrified and pooping yourself while putting Highsmith in the game and making adjustments and telling me you got to get Zeller and Love off the court.
These are not panicky adjustments. These are adjustments that have to be made because the roster is what it is. If Gabe Vincent isn't
Right.
going to be there for Game 6, then I do think you need Haywood Highsmith so you can get away from doubling Jason Tatum because, as you saw, that game was over instantly because of the approach that we took because of the personnel.
And even if Gabe Vincent is there, getting some minutes from a guy who's a versatile defender at moments when other guys are capable of scoring, you needed Kevin Love out there last night in that starting unit, and he'll still start Game 6. They're not going to panic and move him out of the starting lineup, more likely than not. But what you need is someone out there who's capable of moving around that zone so you're not overexposing other players like potentially Duncan Robinson or anybody else in that zone defense.
Is culture on the line?
Yes.
On Saturday?
No, in this series.
Yeah,
like
probably.
if you're the first team ever to blow a
really?
3-0 lead, is
Really?
culture on the line? And follow
What are
up
we
was
doing?
Tony Wright.
Really?
Yeah, I saw a tweet out there that no matter what, this has become a legacy series for
a lot
Jimmy-
of people.
For Jimmy Butler, look,
Joe Mazzulla too. I mean, if he
What's-
comes in, people questioning him. He's what, like 34,
Billy's right about
35 years old.
Yeah.
He comes in. He's the first coach ever to beat the greatest coach in the NBA with a 3-0 deficit. He comes back the first one ever. I mean, where would that put him in the current coaching rankings? I would wonder.
I don't even fear the Boston Celtics. I fear the Boston media.
Yep.
Because
Way
of,
more.
Oh, not the
because of I've never seen a team, and there's a lot of reasons why. It's the Celtics are a 2 seed. The Heat are this unprecedented 8 seed that in a full-length regular season have somehow made it to the conference finals. They're punching above their weight class.
Edging.
So it stands to reason that some people would be picking Boston to come back from 3-0. Some hot take artists out there. I've never seen the amount of people picking a team that's down 3-0 to come back all the way in this series the way that I have right now. And I'm just already afraid of how this narrative is going to blow out of proportion and how the mythology has somewhat already started.
What was the verb you used there? Afraid?
I'm afraid of the Boston media. I'm not afraid of what's happening in this in this series.
All I'm telling you is that what is headed this way, if they lose Game 6, to me, is the most fun thing that there is.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun, and I'm not gonna be super scared either way. They bought up a lot of margin for error, and again, I just don't think Eric Spoelstra is going to lose 4 consecutive games to Joe Mazzulla, and I don't think that Jimmy Butler is going to continue to be bad for 2 more games, and I don't think that we're going to struggle from 3, and I don't think that they're going to shoot this astronomical percentage from 3 themselves. You realize that White is a 36% career three-point
Not
shooter,
against Miami.
Not against the
but
Heat,
against
though.
but against
Shoots
Miami,
67%.
he shoots 20 percentage points higher.
That was fun last night, watching him never miss.
Nothing
Anytime-
was fun
Well,
last night.
nothing was fun, and
I watched Below Deck Sailing in the fourth quarter.
Yikes.
there was something, and I don't know if it's legs or I don't know if it's just White as caught on to something and they made the adjustment. But Jimmy's game, a lot like Dwayne Wade's, is really predicated on people biting on that pump fake, and nobody was biting yesterday.
Wouldn't you guys want them to blow this lead? Like for them to blow up the team the way you wanted them to headed into the
that's a good
playoffs?
question.
Because if they go down,
That's a
if
good
they blow
question.
a 3-0 lead, then that conversation can start again, right?
Yeah, there's no bad scenarios here outside of the Boston media making this something that is just going to be wholly annoying and something that we will never be able to escape. No matter how often you beat the Boston Celtics from here on, you're always going to be smacked in the face with overcoming 3-0. It's just like the Red Sox have that banter over the Yankees forevermore.
But this is why Derek Jeter and A-Rod never should have been welcome in the building.
How is he at every? Was he there last night, A-Rod, or did he finally skip a game? Because he did the Miami, LA, back to Miami in 3 days, which is insane and unnecessary. Like no one needs him at all these games.
He wants to be seen as an owner.
Well, have a better team, and then they'll see you at the games every time when your team is playing.
I'm using that sentence. He just wants to be seen as an owner, like just be in public places as an owner, as a powerful man. His brand is, can you please see me wherever it is that you see things on a while ago on J-Lo's social media.
But he's always just going to be seen as A-Rod, if we're going to be honest, right? Like
he's A-Rod.
He's just always going to be seen as A-Rod. No matter what he does, he's just going to be like, yeah, that's A-Rod.
I want to go through a couple of things with you here because I did enjoy the analysis of Kevin O'Connor spitting in social media. Mazzulla has been more aggressive with his timeouts.
I think he means for Mazzulla.
I know what he means. I'm very clear on what he means. I just
that's an
love it.
adjustment.
I love it as analysis.
Yeah.
Hey, remember that first game, how we learned, if they're scoring a record amount of points in a third quarter, maybe I should call a timeout. And what have they learned in the game since? Don't jump on Jimmy's pump fake. A more important lesson than whether he's aggressive with his timeout.
That's easier said than done. And if Jimmy's done all these things throughout his entire Heat tenure where you're like, oh, yeah, he's tired. His legs are shot. And then 2 days later, I don't know if he just drinks blood. I don't know what happens. But then all of a sudden he looks explosive again and people start biting.
Again, the Celtics have had 5 quarters that remind you. This is the team that I've watched for 2 years, okay? I was more surprised by the first 3 games of this series than I've been surprised by the last 5 quarters or 6 quarters of Celtics basketball because since the second half of Game 4 to save their season, they've looked more like the Celtics. But here are some numbers on Jimmy Butler since calling that timeout in Al Horford's face.
See, this is what I'm afraid of.
That's coming back at some point,
Well,
right?
these are the
like
numbers.
That's a Game 6 or Game 7 move.
These are the numbers since he got on a knee and
Courtesy
did
of who?
To Al Horford.
Courtesy of who?
Well, you don't think it's right?
No, just courtesy
I
of
don't
who?
have the courtesy
You
in
don't have
front
the
of me.
courtesy because I guarantee you it's a Boston media type.
Okay.
And this is what I'm afraid of.
Okay. And
We're
this-
already doing this. They just won back-to-back games as a much higher seed.
Can I get to the numbers? or
Yeah,
no?
but I'm just
Nah.
telling you, this is just annoying.
I know. It's what's coming. It's where the fun is.
Well, it's here. It's
Dan
here.
loves this
Yeah,
part.
Dan-
How can you
You
not
have a
love it?
smile on your
It's
face,
sports. It's sports. It's pressure. It's fear. Man, you guys thought this was going to be easy. What kind of game? I've been watching basketball for the last 12 years.
I thought it was going to be easy at 3-0, yeah. I thought it was going to be easy at halftime of Game
Mike.
4.
Well, basketball's rigged, so you know it's going to go 7.
Oh, you
it
know
always goes 7.
You
The
know
script,
who's
yeah.
officiating
The script is
on
out.
Saturday,
Oh,
right?
no.
You
God.
better believe it.
No, no.
Yeah, it won't be announced till that
Allegedly
day,
rigged.
but we know.
I love fans from this perspective, even the most hopeful of Heat fans. If I told you you'd be in the Eastern Conference Finals up 3-2 at any point, you would have been thrilled with that, would have taken it at any point this season. But what happens with this is even the most hopeful of Heat fan who thought before this series, Heat in 6, most hopeful, Heat in 6, which see, the money wasn't there. The money was Celtics in 4, Celtics in 5, Celtics in 6, Celtics in 7. The money was not on Heat winning, period. Heat in 6. Heat in 6 was the easy version. You guys got filled up with the nostrils because the Celtics weren't here for the first 3 games. And you could say, oh, the Heat took that away from them. I'd agree with you. But you might want to say today, oh, the Celtics have had a hand in taking away that from the Heat, and then it becomes flights and timeouts and Gabe Vincent and a whole bunch of other shit that makes me think you're afraid.
None of that matters.
Dan, I see these stats on the Jimmy Butler timeout from Boston Strong Brazil. Is that where you got these stats
It's one
from?
of Dan's favorites. Yeah.
Thank you. I've had to search the international globe to find the content that I need here to agitate Mike Ryan and create plumes of fear in the sky.
Somehow the actual stats are in Portuguese. So I don't know how they
I didn't even know that was possible.
The only thing I'm afraid of is stuff like this. I'm not actually afraid of blowing this series yet.
Okay.
I'm only afraid of this.
All right, you will be after game 6 if they lose. And
Is that a guarantee?
I am not guaranteeing anything. Charles Barkley got a rare one right last night in a number of different ways when he had this to say.
Fat Dan LeBatard and your fat daddy, sweet Miss Lourdes, I'll see you Saturday. Guarantee!
He never gets the guarantees right. I got a bunch of texts when he did that. I'm taking the Heat on the money line. Because he never gets that right with his guarantees. But let's see if the stats are the same, Jeremy, that you have and that I have. Because I don't know whether my stats were not in Portuguese, but I erred journalistically in not citing my source. Here are the stats that I have. Obviously, 2 losses since the timeout. He is minus 44, Jimmy Butler is, since the Al Horford timeout. He's 17% from 3 since the timeout, and he's 20% from the field in the fourth quarter since the timeout.
Boston Strong Brazil agrees.
Now, I don't know if it's accurate.
You translated the tweet. That's what it was, Dan.
I did. Well, I'm scouring the internet for useful information that helps
to needle me.
To Derotas.
And then Jimmy says after the game, by the way, this is such a heady play by Jimmy. Such a heady play, even if he doesn't believe it all. We will win, is what he says, which is rare. People don't usually do that. But I'm going to say it's a no-lose position only if they lose, because it's going to be so loud that no one's even going to remember. They're going to be crushing him so much that it's not going to matter what he said. They're going to be crushing the Heat so much and mocking the Heat so much if they lose up 3-0 that him saying in Game 6, we will win, is not something anyone's going to hold against
Jeremy
him.
and I have talked about this. That stuff never sticks to Jimmy Butler because everyone universally understands that Jimmy Butler is a crazy person. And he has to believe that for him to just live and breathe. So none of that ever sticks to him. He says stuff like that all the time. That would be embarrassing. He was saying at the worst points of this season, we're going to win the championship. It's just who he is.
Yeah, he says it all the time. Literally, he had interviews after games in the regular season where they were snapping 4-game losing streaks. And he's like, yeah, we're going to win the title. This is in January.
There is something to be said, by the way, because we talked to Francis Ngannou yesterday, and you see that Tyson Fury is calling out John Jones. And Conor McGregor, who made his money, an excellent fighter, but made his money on mouth, on personality, on brand. Just say it. Don't be the Nuggets. Show us something that gets us agitated. And Conor McGregor is saying to Canelo Alvarez, he's saying, hey, Canelo, you little ginger sausage. And then he says, I can beat you with no hands. And it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. But this is the game we're all playing now on brand management and individual brands. Just say stupid. Say it louder than the next guy. Start fights and see if you can get your brand up so you're not the Nuggets, who might hold up the trophy, but people are going to be like, the Nuggets, you're not interesting enough.
Doesn't always work, though. Sometimes you're Dylan Brooks.
But if Jimmy's going to turn into one of those guys who's a superstar in this league from a marketability standpoint, like it'll be through the I'm MJ, I'm Kobe, I'm the crazy competitor maniac guy who says, even after losing 2 games in a row looking like that, we're going to win in Game 6. I guarantee it.
I also, in scouring international and national internet, I did hear sound of Jimmy Butler. There are some instances where he's been mic'd up and people are listening closely and translating. Like he yelled at Strus the other day, curse words, do your bleeping job. Do your bleeping job. And then yesterday he hit Kyle Lowry on the way back to the bench pretty hard with shoot the ball, shoot the bleeping ball, because Kyle Lowry got up in the air and turned the ball over and passed it, and then it was transition. They'd rather that he shoot and miss with spacing so that he can get back on defense than he can have all those turnovers that he and Bam had that led to just all sorts of easy baskets, because you can't let Jaylen Brown and Tatum be in the open court.
Strus and Kyle can take it, and that's why that's a relationship with Jimmy. They're built for it. Jimmy wouldn't talk to Duncan that way on the court. And by the way, with Duncan Robinson, who I believe finished the game with an actual plus rating on the plus-minus scale.
He was great last night. And
we all knew as that game was taking form, Duncan's going to eat in this situation, which is the annoying part about Duncan.
The annoying part to me is you're a shooter. They paid you $90 million to shoot the basketball. Nobody wants you driving. Nobody wants you cutting through double teams and trying to hit layups over Robert Williams. Nobody wants
that's
that.
not true.
What
That's
we
not true.
want
I bet you
is for
Spoelstra
to
wants
shoot.
that.
I know.
He has that in his locker.
Mike, I get that.
Wait,
but
hold
they
on.
paid him $90 million to shoot, and the guy hasn't taken a three.
I get the overall sentiment.
crazy.
I get the overall sentiment that Duncan Robinson don't pump fake when he got a clean look, but he actually surprises with his
He was
ability
aggressive.
to drive the lane and playmaking
Agreed.
ability. Like, he can finish around the rim.
But he needs to shoot threes. Like, that's
yeah,
what he needs to
that-
do. There's nobody else on that
Preaching to the
court that
choir,
can
my
shoot threes
friend.
like
There's
that.
just about anybody else on the team that you could blame for last night, not Duncan's lack of aggressiveness. Like, he was incredibly aggressive on offense, and that he was just taking what was available
That's
to him.
what
Like,
what
they were
you-
closing out on
What
threes.
you saw last night was Duncan Robinson's aggressiveness against Joe Mazzulla's aggressive timeouts. This guy was aggressive against that guy's aggressive, and the Heat lost by a bunch because they need Jimmy and Bam to be great. And
They don't even need both of them to be great at the same time. They can't have subpar efforts from both, and they can't have Kyle Lowry out there playing way more minutes than he should be without some key adjustments. And I do believe those key adjustments will happen. God knows what Jimmy Butler is going to put in his body, but I have faith because I've done this several times.
Wait a minute.
Where
Big
I'm
face
like,
coffee.
Allegedly. Whoa,
Big face
man.
coffee, and that's it.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
look, we've been doing this with LeBron for 10 years. We'd seem like fools if we didn't
Doing what?
do it with a guy that we keep wondering after playing for
he
Tom
brews his
Thibodeau.
own coffee. Big face coffee.
Yeah,
are we
what are we doing
doing?
with LeBron? I don't.
Yeah,
What
I
are we
don't
doing?
understand.
What is
He
that?
takes care of his body, and I know there's a treatment plan, but we've done this several times over with Jimmy Butler. Where we're like, okay, minutes of catching up with him.
Not gonna do this one.
His legs are gone, and then he recharges and becomes Super Saiyan playoff Jimmy again. So I'm not falling for it. I am
do that.
certain
Don't do
Jimmy
that.
Butler. He
Huh?
Don't say
What?
it.
Come on. Come on.
Play the reckless speculation again because I have
Play
something.
it again.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
Second.
It doesn't cross over.
Time to throw away all journalistic credibility and get reckless. Here is something we like to call reckless speculation.
You're good.
Should Spo start Haslam next game just to rough people up?
Oh.
Should have done that in the fourth quarter.
Like just,
He
throw
panicked.
some bows here and there. Maybe catch an eye. Do something, Spice
that-
things up a little. I don't even think, honestly, and I could be speaking out of turn here, so I'm sorry. I don't even think that UD would mind it if that was like his last game in the NBA, right? Like he did it for the culture. He came out there and he just, helped them advance.
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Would UD mind if his last game as a Heat player involved the actual murdering of 4 or 5 Celtics?
I didn't say that.
With
his
That was
elbows.
Dan.
With his
That's why we
elbows.
had the reckless
That's the
speculation
reckless
sounder.
speculation.
Well, the music
But the
stopped.
music stopped.
You can't
Oh,
say
yeah,
it
you
now.
said it
Yeah, we might need to fire it up again.
Let
I
the
don't
journalism,
understand
jeez.
why Cody Zeller's playing ahead of Udonis Haslam. He looks so clumsy.
No,
He's
more.
so bad. He cannot
Mike, do not
be
take the
better
Zeller-
than
He can't
Udonis
stay upright.
Haslam.
Do not take the Zeller minutes from me
He
because
did better than Strus yesterday.
because you guys are so afraid. I need him, the ball going through his hands. I need him a little scared being stripped. I need him catching the ball when he's out of bounds. I need him getting in everybody's way. Getting in everybody's
He
way.
gets in everyone's way.
On both teams.
His shoes are so ugly.
This is
Change
what
your shoes.
This is what I am telling you about Cody Zeller and why I've loved the Zeller minutes and I found them delightful. I do feel like it would occasionally look like that if any one of us were on the court running around.
Right.
Suavecito.
But we're not Cody. We're not professional basketball players. Why does Cody Zeller look like us? Why is Cody? Your take is that we look like Cody Zeller? You should
Well-
be angry that Cody Zeller looks like us.
Not,
Yes,
not me.
conceit.
He doesn't look like me.
Billy,
Did we just go over Tony's saying
Yes,
to slow down because
yes.
he thinks he'd do
Well,
better
I
than
knew-
No,
than
what I
Zeller?
hold on. Give me a second here. Give me the floor. So what I do is I wouldn't be in the way. I'd be in the corner just waiting for a random, kick out. I would not be in the way trying to. Jimmy
I
Butler's
hate
trying
you.
to take a drive to the middle of the floor,
Tony
and
would
then
be
all of a sudden Cody
spacing-
Zeller's there. It's
You'd
like
be
get out of
spacing
the
the
way.
floor. You're a floor
Exactly.
spacer.
If you're
They
this
have
is
to
what we're
respect your
doing-
shot.
Thank you.
I don't even know that he's wrong.
Okay.
I'd rather
Oh my
Tony out
God.
there.
I would not
I'd
be in
rather
the way.
Tony. I'd rather
That's-
Tony.
That's my point. I would not be in the middle of the paint when Jimmy's trying to make a drive to the
But
basket.
So it'd be
needs to be in
5 on
the
4
paint.
because you're just standing in the corner waiting
No,
to
because
take
they
a
got to
shot.
respect the shot. Do you not?
But no,
Why
he
would
needs-
they
They have to
respect your
respect the shot.
What do you mean? Open 3-point from the corner,
No,
the easiest
this-
bucket in the
I
game.
need-
It's you.
I need the show
And I'm a
back.
great three-point
I
shooter.
need
He is.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Tony,
Lewis says that he is in my ear, so confirmed.
Tony is a
Okay.
great.
Lewis, go steal some snacks. Listen.
Well, goddamn.
Listen to me, because this has been happening around here in a way that has developed. The audience has gotten agitated by the number of people that we have because people don't like change, and change is being forced upon them and will continue to be forced upon them. But I will tell you in all honesty that I lost a little bit of my humor in this segment because as I was throwing out there the idea of any one of us physically being out there, me, Stugotz, Mike Ryan, Billy, I was looking at Tony and I was conjuring this visual that was funny, and I'm like, Tony's going to think he can do it. Tony's going to think in the middle of that he's going to, be in the offense correctly.
Well, he's got a good three-point shot.
And he will
Dan.
not embarrass himself. And inevitably, where we got is Tony's now raining down threes in a way that are making Mazzulla call aggressive timeouts.
Yeah, you got it.
And it takes the funny out of it because Tony thinks he actually will not be Zeller out there. That Zeller's Zeller, but Tony would not be Zeller because Tony is closer to being an NBA professional that can run the offense correctly than Zeller, who's been doing it for 10 years, who just gets in everyone's way. I wanted you to imagine Jeremy Taché in a suit running around out there in dress shoes, Whittingham. I wanted you to imagine Roy brooding out there, Mike wearing sunglasses.
But they're not hoopers, Dan.
Billy wearing a Marlins jersey, me out there, I wanted you to imagine Stugotz out there.
I've actually hit a 3 over Will Manso to win a game on that
for
court.
the
Thank
love
you,
of
Dan.
God.
All right? It's happened in real life. In real life, Dan.
Amin El-Hassan has flown home, but while flying or after landing, at some point, something happened last night during Celtics Heat. I have no idea what it is, that Amin did the rare thing of demanding to be on. He called for the ball, and he's like, there are things I need to say. I don't know what these things are. I don't know what about last night made you insistent that you had to be on today's show, but I suppose you're going to tell us right now. What got you so fired up last night?
Yeah, I mean, this is the ultimate I told you so game. Because if you watched it, you know two things. One, obviously the Heat did not play well. But more importantly, I don't think the Celtics played well. I think they just defended and overwhelmed with talent. And I think this is exactly the point that I was trying to get out, but couldn't get a word out edgewise because Mike was in Panthers fever and Will Manso was cupping his ear to the crowd. But the reality is that a game like last night is where it all crystallizes, where the Celtics aren't executing. They're not like beating you with plays. They're just out-talenting you. And on the other end of the court, the Heat were doing their stuff. They were getting into their stuff. But they just couldn't overwhelm offensively. Once Bam has a slow start, even as they're running their stuff, they weren't able to overcome a motivated Celtics defense. And that's the crux of what I was trying to get to the last couple of days, which is for Miami to win games. And this isn't a knock. This is a compliment. They do things the right way more often than you. They execute you to death. And when they don't do that, it's hard for them to win games. It's hard for them even saying it. And you don't have to believe me. You could watch 82 games of Heat basketball. That proves what I'm saying. Like, this isn't a team that roll the ball out and we're just so good. We beat people. No, they do it by executing basketball, and they didn't do it last night, and they got their asses kicked.
To be clear, you insisted on a segment because things that you were trying to say that were never said because you didn't have a chance and a space to say them. You're still, I told you soing on stuff that you weren't able to say.
I mean, I started to say them and then I get cut off, and I started to say them, I get cut off, and so it's nice to have 30 to 45 seconds of uninterrupted airtime to just calmly explain what I'm talking about. Yeah.
What, we had to come in for this?
I mean, I didn't demand you guys to come in. You guys were already coming in. I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about the Marlins, Billy? Hey, what did the Marlins do last night? I'm sure
there's
that was
actually
really
a lot
fascinating.
going on in the world of fish stripes.
There
I don't
really
know what's
is.
happening there, but fish
What is
stripes.
Fish Stripes?
Fish Stripes was no longer with us, unfortunately. R.I.P. Fish
Yeah,
Stripes.
rip.
Fish
Is it a
on
person?
first
Who
now.
is it?
Yeah, you have to. It's a whole thing. We're still collecting data and figuring out exactly what's going on with fish stripes.
Trying
But
to do some journalism.
Everybody left fish stripes, and now everybody's on fish on first. So I'll report back to you. I'm keeping an eye on the situation.
Is it like the Marlins, man?
Do you have anything else Marlins related that you would like to get to?
Oh, I mean, they tied. Jorge Soler's hit a home run
Ding
in
dong.
every game for the past 6 months.
Who's
it
there?
seems like ding dong.
It's Jorge Soler.
Yeah. Anyways, and then they tied the game. They blew a game yesterday, and then they tied
2
it in the
outs
ninth, and then they blow
tie
it again. Yeah,
and then they lose. They
unbelievable.
lost a 1-run game.
Yeah.
Those hurt. You normally win those.
Yeah, 15-3.
I mean, what else did you see last night? I saw Tatum on Bam some. I don't think that Boston's going to want to keep doing that if they want to avoid Tatum getting into foul trouble.
You saw Tatum on who?
I saw him on Idris last night.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that too. Yeah, it was pretty remarkable to watch him kind of fumble the ball and be terrified by Derek White. He's so much smaller than me. Oh my God, that was it was the sum of all fears. It was after months of, you know what, man, I think he's past this. I think he's Bam again. Last night, Idris said, "Hi guys, I'm back," and he was in full effect last night. The other thing I want to say about the game, though, is I don't know about you guys. I was surprised that Spo started Kyle Lowry. I thought this was a prime opportunity to either start Caleb Martin or start even Highsmith, who played great. And we were talking about that, Mike, before the game.
Yeah,
they're probably going to.
Who do you have?
They should start Highsmith.
Who do you have initiating offense? And Bam and Jimmy, and just go point guardless?
Yeah. Yeah, and they've had stretches this season where Caleb is bringing the ball up and throwing it to the wing and then cutting away, and now we're getting into actions and stuff like that. So it's not like we're asking someone to do something for the very first time. But I thought that also was not in their favor. I thought Kyle Lowry coming off the bench works really well for the Heat, has worked very well, and they kind of disrupted that rhythm a little bit. And the last thing I'm going to ask is Kevin Love unplayable in this series? Because yikes.
Don't you think he serves a purpose whenever they switch to zone, though?
Yes and no. I mean, his rebounding can't be understated for sure. And we know how good he is with those outlet passes. But, man, it seems like the Celtics are able to zero in and target him and play him off the floor. And so at some point, why are we going through this charade in case he hits a couple of threes?
But is it hold on, but is it in case he hits a couple of threes, or even in the game that made us all bury the Celtics? They're quitters. They're terrible. They got blown out by 20. They had a 21-1 offensive rebounding edge. They missed so many shots, but they kept getting the offensive rebounds. And in this series, they've done that a good deal more than Miami. So when you say his rebounding can't be minimized, isn't that why he's out there?
That's why he's out there. And for the most part, that's what he does. He does not disappoint. Last night, he grabbed 29% of available rebounds when he was on the floor. That's a terrific number. The problem is the team still got out-rebounded, and the problem is whatever benefit he brought to the table with his rebounding was swallowed by all the other defensive liabilities. Factor on top of that, he's not stroking it out there. Then it's well, then why are you here? I get it. Again, it's like saying, hey, I came to the potluck. What'd you bring? Well, I brought some paper plates. Well, that's good. We do need plates. What else did you bring? Well, I brought a flamethrower to burn the whole place down. Well, that's not good.
Yeah, I think
I can live without plates, you know?
I think you can be there if other people are out there, right? If Gabe Vincent isn't available, then you can't have a situation in which you're still doubling Jason Tatum and Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry have to figure out how to cover a half court and get to their man in time. So maybe it's a Haywood Highsmith game. Hopefully Gabe Vincent is ready. There are whispers about Tyler Hero, which, again, I'm a sore loser, but it should be noted that they're missing 2 starters as an 8 seed. It's kind of hard to overcome that when your bench is this limited. When it's guys like Zeller and Love and Kyle Lowry that have their physical limitations.
Well, and I think the other thing, Mike, is, and this is when I said Spo panicked in Game 4. There's just a little, maybe panic is too strong a word, but
it is.
When I'm watching the Celtics play, when I'm watching what Tatum is doing, I'm not seeing a guy who at the time is overwhelming with talent, as I know he's capable of doing. I'm seeing a guy who's getting shots through the rhythm of offense, through broken plays, through transition, through mismatches. And I feel like they're hitting the double team button a little too quick, right? Hey, man, how about this? Let's just play some solid defense for a couple possessions, half-court possession. Make him score against a half-court defense. And then, like, when he's got a couple going, all right, let's start exploring, sending doubles, stunts, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems like they're panicking, and I'm like, he's getting a lot of his stuff not in the half-court.
What's your confidence level that the Miami Heat will clean this all up?
I mean, again, like I have, even as I have these criticisms, and by the way, Will Manto and company, this is how you do it. Like it's not to say, oh, they're done for or whatever. It's to offer real criticisms while still saying I have confidence that Spo is going to come up with a game plan that is going to address these things. I have confidence that they're going to defend a lot better, and not. But most importantly, I have confidence that the execution team, the Miami Heat, is not going to turn the ball over as crazy as they've had the last couple of games. And that's a huge part of this, right? Turning the ball over as much as they have has allowed Boston to get out there in the break and get those easy baskets and build those overwhelming leads. I think the Heat close it out in 6. But again, this is what I'm talking about. Not by, oh my God, Jimmy had 40 and they had no answers. It's by the little things, doing everything right and waiting for the Celtics to mess up.
I mean, when you look at the Heat being able to execute, how much of that does come down to having Gabe Vincent back, though, right? Because you look at this team and not having not just their starting point guard, but without their starting shooting guard and their backup shooting guard, all of whom, after Jimmy Butler, are their best individual shot creators. So does getting a point guard back change some of that stuff? Because to me, you talk about the defensive effort on Jason Tatum or the defensive effort by the Heat, really more of that is affected by the fact that they're just not able to get back quick enough in transition with the athletes that are out there right now for Boston coming off of bad turnovers in the half court on offense.
Of course, again, this is the margin of error we're talking about. When the Warriors were at their peak, I had a tweet bookmarked from like 6 years ago or whatever. And it's one of my favorite tweets ever because it was, you could play 46 minutes of perfect basketball and the Warriors could make every mistake. And in the last 2 minutes, they're going to play such a great brand of basketball. In the last 2 minutes, it will erase the 46 minutes of perfect basketball you played. Like, that's how good they were. That's not what the Miami Heat are. Like, they don't have that luxury. And so every time you take another chess piece off the table, whether it's a Tyler Hero, whether it's a Gabe Vincent, it's like it makes it that much harder because guess what? Jimmy Butler is not Jason Tatum. He is not overwhelmingly offensive in talent. He's a guy that works and gets it out of the mud, which is what Spo loves. Spo loves getting out of the mud. Well, guess what? You're going to have to pour a little water down there to have some mud. Otherwise, it's just sand you're throwing up in the air.
Well, you say, though, that Jimmy Butler's not Jason Tatum, but statistically in the playoffs, he is Jason Tatum, better than Jason Tatum. I understand the point that you're making. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Is the Miami Heat's margin for error a small space around Gabe Vincent's ankle? Because,
I mean, what's funny about what Amin is saying is the Heat have come back so often in the last 2 minutes of games because Jimmy Butler has been overwhelming them because he does become Jason Tatum. He does become Jordan Light. He does become Kobe.
But that's within the context of them doing everything else right. And that's the part you guys are missing. You guys are so laser focused on, well, Jimmy scored this. Well, clearly that means he's doing exactly what I'm telling you, it all happens within the context of the team not making mistakes.
Amin, thank you for being on with us. A reminder, that was Amin's I told you so on stuff he wasn't actually able to get out because we were talking about the Panthers.
Real hoopers know, Dan.